Imagine standing at the edge of the impossible. Behind you, the thunder of chariots. In front of you, an ocean with no way across. Egypt's army closing in. Nowhere to run. This is the moment where faith either breaks or becomes legend. This is the story of Moses at the Red Sea, and what happened next would echo through history forever. The Israelites had finally escaped. After generations of slavery, after 10 devastating plagues, Pharaoh had let them go. But freedom didn't mean safety. They'd barely begun their journey when Pharaoh changed his mind. He assembled his entire army, 600 of his best chariots, every officer, every soldier. And he came after them with one goal: bring them back in chains or destroy them completely. The Israelites were trapped, mountains on both sides, the Red Sea straight ahead, and behind them, the dust cloud of Egypt's war machine growing closer by the minute. They could hear it now, the rumble of wheels, the shouts of commanders, the metallic clatter of weapons being readied. Panic spread through the camp like wildfire. Mothers grabbed their children. Men shouted accusations at Moses. This was his fault. He'd led them out here to die in the desert. Better to have stayed slaves than to be slaughtered like animals with nowhere to hide. Moses stood between the furious crowd and the approaching army. He had no military, no weapons, no escape plan that made any logical sense. But he had something else, a promise from God that wouldn't let him go. He lifted his voice over the chaos and said something that shouldn't have been possible to say in that moment. Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. Bold words for a man staring at certain death. But Moses wasn't looking at the army anymore. He was looking at the sea. And God was about to do something no one had ever seen before. God told Moses to raise his staff over the water. Moses obeyed. And then the wind came. Not a breeze. A gale so powerful it felt like the breath of creation itself. All night it blew, relentless and impossible, pushing against the sea with a force that defied everything they knew about nature. The water began to move. It didn't part gently. It was torn apart, driven back by wind that wouldn't stop, couldn't stop, until walls of water stood vertical on both sides, and a path of dry ground appeared where an ocean had been moments before. The Israelites stared. This wasn't a shallow marsh. This was the Red Sea, split open like a curtain, with walls of water held in place by nothing but the command of God. Moses didn't hesitate. He stepped onto the seabed. The people followed, thousands of them, walking through on dry ground with the ocean suspended on either side. Egypt's army saw the path and charged in after them. Every chariot, every soldier. They were so close now, closing the gap, certain they had them cornered. But the wheels started sinking. Axles broke, horses stumbled. Confusion turned to panic as they realized too late that they'd walked into a trap set by something far beyond their control. The Israelites reached the other side. Moses stretched out his hand again, and the walls of water that had stood frozen in place came crashing down with the weight of divine judgment. The entire army was swallowed in seconds. When the water settled, there was nothing left. Israel stood on the far shore, staring back at the sea that had become Egypt's grave. They had seen God fight for them, and they would never forget it. That day the people feared the Lord and put their trust in him and in Moses, his servant. What looked like the end became the greatest deliverance in their history. That sea didn't part because Moses was powerful. It parted because God keeps his promises, even when the situation looks impossible, even when the enemy is breathing down your neck, even when everyone around you is screaming that it's over. The same God who made a way through the Red Sea is still making ways today. Through financial disasters that look insurmountable, through health crises that seem hopeless, through circumstances that have you completely surrounded with no logical exit. He's not intimidated by your Red Sea moment. He's been waiting for it, because that's where faith stops being a theory and becomes a testimony. That's where you stop trusting your own ability to figure it out and start watching him do what only he can do. So if you're standing at your own impossible edge right now, with chaos behind you and an ocean in front of you, remember this: the God who split the sea is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He hasn't changed, his power hasn't diminished, and he's already planning your way through. You just have to take the first step.